What is going on YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Money with Manny 101, where we talk about all things money that have not been taught to us in school. On this episode, we're going to cover the best practices while paying off debt. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. And at the end of the video, and if you like the information that you received, please forward this video to somebody that will learn from it. Now, if you're new to this channel, what you want to do is make sure that you stay till the end, because like you can see on the board, I have all this information, but I have nothing written there for the best practices, which is situation based. So before we go into exactly the practices of paying off debt, we got to make sure that we have a positive cash flow. The way you do that is that you make sure that your income is more than your debts and then your bills put together. So essentially, if I make $5,000, I gotta make sure that my debt and my bills are at least $4,999. I have a video on this. If you want to click on the link that I'm going to put above here, that'll take you to that video on how to budget each paycheck and the different things you want to do based on calculations, and how to get that extra money to go towards paying off your debt. There are multiple ways to pay off your debt with the debt snowball, and just like any other one, once you pay off the balance of the smallest, you take that monthly payment that you're making normally and you move it straight into the next one. I'm gonna keep the same exact numbers that you see here for all the different scenarios and close out with the same information here for the best practices. So we're gonna have 5 different types of loans. Now, as you can tell, the debt tsunami has nothing to do with how much you owe, and it has nothing to do with what the interest rate is. The point of the debt tsunami is literally to make you feel like you're making progress. It makes you feel like, hey, I owe these people this much, so I'm paying this off faster, or I'm paying these people back. It has zero financial literacy behind it. It's all emotional. And when it comes to finances, like I always say, you don't want to be emotional. So I do not recommend going with the debt tsunami for that simple fact, unless you're an emotional person and the emotional strain can cause you to, go down the wrong path. Now, the debt avalanche, very simple. Opposite to debt tsunami, complete opposite to debt tsunami, is the most financially literate way to pay off your debt. What you're doing with the debt avalanche is you're lining them up from highest interest rate percentage to the lowest. You're literally lining them up on based on interest rate percentage, highest first and lowest last. This causes you to pay the least amount of interest, which in turn causes you to pay your loans back in the shortest amount of time. The third one that we're going over is a debt snowball effect, which essentially is lowest amount owed first and then the highest amount owed last. This one is a mix of debt tsunami and a debt avalanche, because of the simple fact that this does play an emotional impact on you as you see things fall off faster in the beginning, but in the rear end of the whole paying off of the debt, it starts falling off a lot slower. This, although starts making things fall off faster than the debt avalanche, at the end of the day, the debt avalanche will end up having you pay things off faster. So if you are in a perfect financial situation, I highly recommend going with the debt avalanche. But if you are more of an emotional person and you want to see things fall off and you still want to have some type of financial literacy behind it, I'd go with the debt snowball. What we're covering now is the best practices, or best practice. Now, the most important thing that I want you to understand about the best practice is that it is 100% situation based. That means that it has everything to do with your current financial situation. Now, like I always say, you want to be in the know of your current financial situation. This means how much money you make, how much debt you have, and the situation when it comes to your income. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna walk you through the stages of life that I've been through that has taught me to create what I call the best practices, which is a mix of the debt avalanche, the debt snowball, and the debt tsunami. All this has to do with your cash flow, okay? So 2019, we had a baby and our income was cut in half. COVID happened right after the baby was born, so we never put the baby in daycare. Sierra never went back to work, and we became a one-income household. We went from making estimated numbers around $80,000 a year as a two-household income to making $50,000 a year as a household. Now, what that created was a deficit. So we still had the same cars, we still had the same payments, everything was the same, but we made less money because I was the only one working. So the cash flow, when we were working together, we were making about $500 more than we needed a month. We were in a green $500. Once that change happened, our cash flow, so this is gonna be the two income. Now once that happened, our cash flow became somewhere around, we're making around $300 less than what we needed. And these are all estimated numbers. It's just so I could create a realistic best practices. From there, I went on an Army contract, and these contracts are year contracts that you renew every year. And our cash flow, once that happened, went from $300 less than what we needed to make it a month to about, just to make up the numbers, $1,000 more than what we need. And this is still in a one income. Now, the 5 debts that we're gonna go over over time, that we've had it from 2019 all the way through, we still have it till today, or we still have most of them till today, is debt number 1 is gonna be our credit cards. Debt number 2 is going to be car number 1. Debt number 3 is going to be car number 2. Debt number 4 is going to be personal loan. And debt number 5 is going to be student loans. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll do 2019, 2020, and 2021. Okay? Now, the reason why this is a best practice is because it is completely situational based. So when we were making about $500 more than what we needed, and we already had enough money saved up, what we did was, our order of paying down things was very simple. We made the minimum payments on student loans. We made the minimum payments on the personal loan. We made the minimum payments on the car loan, number 2, and car loan number 1. And we made all the extra payments towards the credit card. Now, in 2019, what was beautiful is we were able to pay off the credit card. Then we were throwing that $500 that we were paying plus the minimum payment on the credit card into the car loan. So it had nothing to do with interest, and it had nothing to do with emotions. It had more to do with a snowball effect. So in 2019, our payoff method was a debt snowball. Now 2020 happened. Like I said, COVID started, my wife wasn't able to work, so we started making $300 less than what we needed, and we were still able to make all our payments, so we didn't lose our car, we didn't lose our home, we didn't lose anything. But the issue was every month, although we were able to make our minimum payments on our credit cards, we were essentially increasing the credit card balance by about $300 a month. This, obviously, like I said, these are all made up numbers, but this is a real situation. So about $300 a month, we're increasing that. Our credit card, we're still making the on-time payments, and now car loan number 1 went back to the minimum payment. Car loan number 2 went back to regular payments. Personal loan went back to regular payments, and student loan went back to regular payments. Now, before we get into 2021, so I can explain it more deeply, what we need to do is put some percentages over here. Credit card average is around 16%. Car loan, let's say this one is at 6%. Car loan 1 is at, car loan 1 is at 6%, and car loan 2 is at 4%. And then let's say our personal loan is actually at 3%. And then our student loans is at 5%. What we did is we lined it up in a debt snowball type of way. The reasoning behind it is because we were on a contract. So we didn't know when it was gonna end. What we wanted to do is create as much margin as possible between our income and our required debt payments, minimum payments, just in case our contract ends and we're not able to renew, or our contract ends and I have to take a job that pays less. We paid off the credit cards, and this had nothing to do with the debt snowball. The debt snowball would essentially say the lowest amount is what you paid for first. We had about, estimated numbers again, $15,000 in credit card loans, while we owed only about $8,000 on car loan number 2. So we owed less on our Honda than we did on the credit cards, but we still went after the credit cards first because of the percentage. So it was more of a debt tsunami and a debt avalanche rather than a debt snowball. So we decided to go after car loan number 2 next. And this was because of the dollar amount. So this was more of a debt snowball rather than a debt avalanche or a debt tsunami. It had nothing to do with making us feel better. It was just the best financial decision in terms of our situation. So the next logical thing to take care of was the personal loan. The personal loan is at 3%, so it's not a debt avalanche situation where it's the smartest thing to do because it'll help us pay things off faster, but we only owed about $13,000 on the personal loan. The reason why we took care of the personal loan was all money related. I will be able to generate $13,000 before next March. So that'll clear up the personal loan payments before I have to either renew my contract or get a job maybe that pays less, or I don't know the situation after that contract ends. So I have to make sure that I get rid of as many things as possible. So this was more of a debt snowball again, but not because the debt snowball said I should put it next, but because I will be able to pay it off before the contract ends. Now the next thing I decided to do is not pay off anything. So I cut it off there because personal loan will be paid off around October. Between October and March, which is when the next contract ends, I will not be able to generate enough money to pay off car loan number 1, nor will I be able to generate enough money to pay off my student loans or our student loans. So for me to throw any of my money towards that debt, not knowing my future financial situation, is foolish. So what we're doing is, once the personal loan is paid off, all the minimum payments that I had to make here, and the minimum payments that I made here, and the minimum payments that I made here, which is essentially the total that I'm putting into here, every payment that I was gonna move down into the next minimum payments, I will save or put into investments because I already have my regular savings set, my emergency money set aside. But I will save that money all the way until I figure out what is going to happen at the end of my contract. The reason why I'm doing that is because if I'm able to renew and my income will stay the same, then all the money that I saved, I can now dump into the next thing, which based on both percentage and the amount owed would be car loan, or well, based on the amount owed, but in my situation, based on both percentage and the amount owed, the next smart thing to pay off will be my car loan number 1. And this will be based on both the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. So car loan number 1 won't get any extra payments towards it until I figure out the situation in March. So based on the estimated numbers, I created about $1,000 difference just by paying off these 3 loans. And now I also have a savings from October to March, just in case I don't get to renew my contract. I'll have that money set aside so I don't have to scramble to look for a new job. I don't have to scramble if I don't get my contract renewed. I could literally sit there and be able to take the highest paying and best paying opportunity, which is where that education comes in hand. My bachelor's, master's, accounting degrees, and all those are things that I can leverage to still make sure that I get as close to 6 figures as possible. So the next thing that will go then in March, if everything stays the same and I renew my contract, would be the car loan number 1, and then finally will be my student loans, which is both a debt snowball / percentage as well. So the reason why I had to go into details for the situation base is because of the simple fact that all the other ones don't take into account different situations. You could be like me and be on contracts, or what people call contractors, where you sign a contract for a year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever it might be, because it is beneficial. You get paid a lot more because of the uncertainty, whatever it might be. Or you could be in a low income and things might pop up that will take you away from doing it. So the point of this is to make you understand that your budget can be hybrid. If anything is still unclear about the best practices, please feel free to leave it in the comment and let me know to please give you a better breakdown of it, and I'll either make another video or I will essentially just explain it in the comments. If you haven't done so yet, please like, share, subscribe, and send this video to 1 or 2 people that you know will learn from it and will understand that paying off debt should not be something that takes you away from your everyday life. It's something that is supposed to free you in the future. So you're essentially doing the work now so that your future self can thank you. I always say that I want to do one thing every day that future Manny is gonna thank me for. So same thing here. I want you to do one thing every paycheck that future you is gonna thank you for.